Hello, I'm Carol.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and we're the Grief Gurus.
And grief is part of your story, but it's not all of your story. And in today's video, we are going to talk about when people say, "Oh, you're so strong." Lisa, it drove me nuts when people said that to me. How about when they said it to you? How did it make you feel?
Aggressive. But I
Yeah.
think, people mean it as a compliment, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. I think they do. I think part of the issue is we put on a brave face often in grief, don't we? Or we continue doing what we have to do, whether that's looking after our family or going back to work. And I think people do think it is a bit of a compliment telling you that you're strong. But I always wanted to shout at them, "I'm dying inside."
Yeah.
Or, "What do you want me to do? I have to go back to work. I have to keep going. I can't just stop." And so perhaps that appears to be being strong. And I think one of the points, and it's only with time I've thought about this, is that people can't imagine themselves in the
Mhm.
situation you're in, either for me losing a husband or for you losing two children. And as somebody who hasn't lost two children, I can't imagine it, of course. And so when you see somebody continuing with life in an unimaginable situation, you go, "You're so strong," meaning I'm not sure I could actually deal with this. And so, again, and we talk about this all the time, don't we? That when people say things that don't sit right with us, because we're very sensitive in our grief, we almost have to let them go and give them grace because they don't know how you're feeling. They can't know how you're feeling, right?
Right. And they don't see, especially if it's not someone particularly close with, they don't see the day in, the day out slog of
Yeah.
having to talk ourselves into putting one foot in front of the other day after day after day. And we see that and we feel how different and excuse me, how difficult that
Mhm.
is. But they don't see it and they think they're giving a compliment. I think the other reason that it feels badly, or at least in my own kind of processing of why that's kind of a trigger when people say, "Oh, you're the strongest person I know," I think it feels a little bit dismissive in
Yes.
terms of, "Oh, how are you? Good to see you again. You're so strong. Let's move on. We're not talking about this grief thing anymore, are we?" Instead of saying, like, "What's it like for you?"
Yeah.
So I think that it feels a little dismissive, like, "Oh, what a relief. We're kind of over this now." And that's not necessarily what the person is probably intending when they say that. I think they
I don't
do.
So I don't. I would say they probably don't, and it almost invalidates your grief, doesn't it, and your feelings. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I am strong, or and we're almost forced to put on this facade of strength, aren't we? Because nobody wants to see you cry, and of course, you don't want to see somebody you love in tears or unhappy. And we know that, and so we put on this brave face. But then you get home and then you fall to pieces and you are not strong. You're feeling the full weight of grief, as you should. And I think that's the other thing. Why should we be strong when somebody we love has died, when you've lost a child, when you've lost two children, when you've lost a husband, a mother, whatever it is? Why should we be strong? We shouldn't actually. We should feel that full emotional load of grief. And perhaps, when people now see other people who seem to be coping, please don't say, "You're so strong." It isn't really a compliment, even if you intended it as that.
And we don't want to be strong. We maybe it's just the word itself, this kind of strength, this idea of
Mm,
it's rolling off me. But as someone who's grieved a long part of my life, because my children died when I was quite young,
yeah,
strength isn't the goal. Being present is the goal. Finding support is the goal, and it could be helpful depending on who the person is that's saying it and where the role that they play in your life. If there's a level of actual connection or trust there, you could just gently say, "I'm actually not strong, but I am trying my best."
yeah,
Or you might even say, I'm a breath away from losing my mind. You know, could we get a glass of wine
Yeah.
or grab a coffee? You know, give them that indication that while that might be the way it appears, I'm struggling. And not only am I struggling, but I could really use someone to listen.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
again, that's going to depend on the person that's
Depends.
making the comment.
It really does depend, doesn't it? And I think quite often it's people that don't know you that will say that. And, you know, are we brave enough to share a little bit and say, I know it looks like that, but really, I'm not, I don't even know how I'm going to get through the day, or I'm just doing the best I can. Come up with some answers that feel comfortable that you can say to people, remembering that they're not intentionally trying to hurt you, but it feels like a dagger in the heart. Doesn't it? It feels like you're not seeing me. You don't know what I'm going through. And the truth is, no, they don't.
Well,
And so we give them a little bit of grace, but can we actually admit and say, this is way harder. I am not coping that well.
and it also makes us kind of, my experience, like, also makes me second guess myself. Like, maybe I'm not supposed to be showing up to work every day. Maybe I'm making this look easy and it's not. Or am I getting, you know, am I healing too quickly? Or, you know, it kind of,
Yeah.
it can make you
Questions.
feel a little insecure. Like, you know, you're doing your best, you're going along, and then someone says, oh, you got this. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, either I'm not showing up in an authentic way, or I'm making this look easy and it's not, or maybe I should be strong. You know, it just, but I
You
think
found
we
your
have
group.
talked in the past about canned responses, having sort of automated ways that we respond to things. And it might be worth, you know, jotting down a mantra or two or a response or two to something uncomfortable. So whether it's someone says, oh, you're so strong, or, oh, time heals all wounds. We've talked about that
Yeah.
before. And just having that response that's like, maybe it seems that way, but that's not my experience. It's actually really hard, or, you know, whatever would feel like protective, but something that you'd be comfortable saying. And that way we don't have to relive and sort of process when someone says this. We just have that kind of automatic, maybe it looks like I'm strong, but
Yeah.
nothing about this feels strong to me, or, you know,
Yeah. You
whatever feels authentic.
don't have to think on the fly for a response. If you've got a few of these responses that we talk about in our videos, then you can just say them gently and kindly and move away or step away. But it's interesting how we put on this facade of being strong or coping better or managing. And I know I went back to work very early after Brian had died. And many, many months later, somebody said, you looked terrible. You're looking better now. You looked awful. And I'm thinking, there you are, thinking
Yeah.
you're putting a smile on and doing okay. But I was in a very supportive environment, luckily, and they knew that this was a struggle for me. Nobody there told me I was strong, thank heavens. But it is something I think as grievers we hear very often. And so if you hear it, give a little grace, have a response that you want to give people.
Yeah, because again, if someone says nothing, to me, that was always the worst. I would rather have someone say something that lands wrong or feels bad than to have the opposite, which is, oh, we're not even going to address this. We're not even going to say anything about your daughter that died. We're just going to wish you, you know, how are things going, or whatever it is. I would rather have someone use one of those comments that maybe doesn't land so well than not even acknowledge,
I was
like,
going to say, at least it's an acknowledgement that there has been a grief, that you're in
yeah,
pain, and that you appear to be doing well. But at least it's
yeah,
an acknowledgement, and I think it always comes back to people just don't know what to say, and they're scared of hurting you, and they're scared of saying your loved one's name or mentioning their death in case they make you sad. And of course, we're sad already. So if you're watching this and you are wondering, should I say anything? Please say something. As Lisa said, she'd rather you said something and it didn't land quite right than nothing at all. So be brave enough to say something. I think it matters.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for checking out our video today. If you found something to resonate, we hope you'll join our channel and follow us. And also just check out thegriefgurus.com for more conversations like this one. Thanks for being here.
Bye-bye.